All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Dids in the Dugout. Another week with Chad and Hitch here to talk all things Ole Miss, hit a little bit of basketball and baseball. Obviously, I know my camera's not working, so y'all don't have to tell me about that.
You want to turn your camera on?
It's not working. No, I don't want to turn my camera on. I'm tired of dealing with this damn thing.
You look great. You look amazing.
Well, thank you. Best I've looked all year, I'm sure. So, got one coming up. We'll have that set up for the next time we record. So hopefully this is the only time this will happen. But if not, you can deal with it. Nobody really likes looking at me anyway. You come to hear me talk. So, but yeah, we'll dive into the basketball. Tough loss in Starkville on Wednesday night, and then same thing with baseball. Home opener on Wednesday against Arkansas State. Rebels dropped to 2-3 there. So we'll dive into all that. But before we do, let you know that we are presented each and every week by Rhythm. They are the absolute best sports betting handicap app out there. And like we told you last week, they now have NBA player props added to their app. So go on there, build your own model, have them have their AI build it for you. And not only will you get totals and spreads and money lines, but now you can get player props in the NBA. When the NFL rolls back around, you get player props for those as well. So still plenty of time to take advantage of those. Sign up today and you can get 14-day free trial and try it for yourself before you decide to pay the monthly premium to get their premium package. So y'all go out and download the Rhythm app. Follow them on Twitter. They give out free plays every single day on Twitter. It's at bet_rhythm, RITHMM, and also join their Discord. They have people giving out bets on the Discord as well. So join those two and see how they do, and that'll help you decide whether or not you want to join them. But I can go ahead and tell you will, because they are absolutely fantastic. So again, that's Rhythm, RITHMM.
Discord's really great for support. Right. Mm-hmm. But it's also, I've also noticed that it's become a place where people who are hot, I think they've even created a room or a thread or whatever you want to call it. They've created one for like hot streaks or picks. Yeah. People who are red hot. So it's easily accessible.
Yes, it is. So y'all go check them out. That's RITHMM. Go download the app, 14-day free trial, and then you'll be hooked and you can start making money like the rest of us have. So, all right, getting into this, guys. Ole Miss traveled to Starkville on Wednesday night, and it didn't quite go the Rebels' way. You know, the first half was kind of a tale of two halves in the first half, right? Yeah. The first 10 minutes were absolutely abysmal. Rebels get down by 12 or 14 at one point there in the first half, and then Matt Morrell absolutely takes over, leads them all the way back. And you look up, and as bad as we played, we had a 4-point lead going into the break.
Yeah, it was about that I don't know, 10-minute mark halfway through when I think we were sending messages and it was just like, oh, man, I wish I hadn't turned this on or whatever we were saying. Yeah. And about that time, like I almost sent you a message back, Chad, and said, oh, well, not with that attitude, just being a smart aleck or whatever. And about that time, he hit a shot and I was like, And then I looked again and, man, we were up 1. And I was like, here we go. Let's go. And I really thought we were going to come out in the second half and play to that intensity, but it's like the two parts of the second half we played like the first part of the first part. We never recaptured that intensity and that we had those last 10 minutes.
I didn't realize how bad our record was in Starkville. They mentioned it.
That kind of surprised me too.
20-something and 90-something.
20-something, 28, 90.
Man. Yeah, I was surprised at how, I mean, I know we don't have an illustrious basketball history, but I did not think that we fared that poorly on the road in Starkville.
Yeah. It's been a tough road to hoe down there for the Rebels. But one thing about last night was how much we struggled down low, right? Tulu Smith absolutely got anything he wanted. Him and Bell both, for that matter. And you could tell that Chris Beard had finally had enough there in the second half. He got good and pissed off. And that's when he went and got a technical to try to fire the team up. I thought that was going to light a fire under us because at that point, I think we're down like 6 or 8, something like that. But the intensity never came out on the team on the court defensively, which is pretty frustrating.
Yeah, and two, I didn't realize until this morning when I was looking at things that neither Tolu Smith or Jimmy, the Bell kid, neither one of those guys had a foul all night long. right?
Yeah.
The refs didn't call a foul on either one of them. I think that is what Beard was upset about.
Yeah.
Was that all of our guys, Cisse, Sharp, all of our guys that could guard those bigger guys were in foul trouble. Now, that's not to say that Tolu Smith and the other kid were just having incredible games and getting to the rack and we were fouling them, because we absolutely were.
Yes, absolutely.
It's hard to believe. It's hard to believe on the other end that they didn't foul anybody at any point during the game.
Yeah. I knew. Let me see. It was probably about 12 minutes left to go in the second half, something like that. That the Rebels were really in trouble because they were just pounding it down to Smith and Bell one after another each time down court. And then I look up and our only defense down there is Brakefield. We had him play in the 5. And he just never stood a chance against those guys, man. You know, when Sharp can't play down there because he's not big enough, he gets pushed around too much, and Cisse just stays in fouls trouble a little too much, stay in the game to be a big enough impact. When you have to move Brakefield to the 5, stuff like that's going to happen to you.
Yeah, and you have to also credit State's defense. I mean, they're known as a defensive team.
Oh yeah.
I think they forced 17 turnovers last night to us only forcing 10. They were tenacious, and I mean that's what they're known for, and it showed. And it's a tough place to play. That crowd was fired up, and it really showed. Their pressure really got to us.
Well, and they had a couple of guys step up who they don't score much, right? I mean, they the guard. That was supposed to come here that ended up going to State. Like he's a big scorer. He didn't have many. Tolu Smith had his whatever standard he gets, but they had the Matthews kid came out.
The Matthews kid was the one that the Matthews kid was the line.
And talking about the line, this game could have been much worse because there was a streak there where Tolu Smith missed like 8 or 9 consecutive free throws. So as good of a game as he had, he could have had 35.
He went 8 of 15 from the line.
So I'm kind of in agreement there with what you said, Chad. It is a tough place to play. They've got some big wins down there, but I really felt like we were going to come out in the second half. And when Beard got that tech, I was like, okay, here we go. Here's that fire that we've been looking for, and it never manifested.
Yeah, it's the game could have gotten a lot more out of hand, like y'all said, with the free throws. But State, I think, was like 23 for 39 from the line. They missed like 16 free throws all game long. And it's kind of weird, though, because as much as they dominated us down low, you look, and I think we ended up dead even with rebounds, which is, which has absolutely killed us all year long. So if you told me we were going to go down there and match on rebound for rebound, I really would have liked our chances.
But the thing about the rebounds is it was even, but there were a couple.
Theirs were big.
Well, there were a couple of trips that we had a defensive rebound, right? We didn't box out, and a guy came around our guy, got it for an easy putback. So even though the rebounding were even, I don't know how many points they got off of easy putbacks, but
they did the same thing. They did the same thing on missed free throws as well. Even though they missed 16 free throws, I think they got like 4 or 5 offensive rebounds off of missed free throws and went back and scored at the same time, right? So, I guess it does kind of wash a little bit that way.
I mean, and that to me, that says like that. Tenacity, I guess, is the word for it. Is like they wanted to win more
aggressiveness.
Like they wanted to win that game more than Ole Miss did.
Yeah, and that's kind of a bad thing, obviously, because we've got so much to play for. So we'll kind of transition into this. Now you're looking at this thing as a whole. We felt pretty good about Ole Miss getting into the tournament back a few weeks ago, right? Hell, probably even as little as 2 weeks ago, we felt pretty good about it. And now it's almost like everything that went our way throughout the non-conference schedule, throughout the early part of the conference schedule, it's all catching up to us. Because you look at, just think back to the games, Detroit Mercy, Temple, Sam Houston State, all of those teams had a shot to win the game at the end, which would have completely killed the season before it ever got started, or before it ever got to conference play. And now it's kind of catching up with us a little bit. And now we're in a position to where, I think you at least have to go 4 of your last 5 to even make the tournament, right?
And one of those 4 has to be Alabama, you would think, right? Because we don't.
Because you need the net boost.
Yes. Yeah, that's the thing. We don't have the big enough wins, and the wins that we have, UCF, Memphis, they've really struggled once conference play has gotten here, and that's kind of helped that's kind of hurt an already shaky resume to begin with.
Yeah, absolutely. And and also the way net works now, we don't get as much credit for those early season wins either because of how much they put into game control too. Well, you look at the Detroit Mercies and Temple, all those guys are like 250 up over 300 in the net. And we didn't control the game like we should have. So it hurts you even more, even though you won it. Right. So, I think.
What'd you say for the next 5 or all?
Yeah. For the next 5, I think is what we got to do. But I think we got to beat Alabama.
Yeah. The next 2 are at home. You've got South Carolina and then Alabama. Then you have Missouri, Georgia, which are going to be tricky.
Those are the 2.
I think you can't lose those. Either one of them.
No, absolutely.
And then you have Texas A&M come, and they're playing really poorly right now.
Yep.
They lost to Vanderbilt after beating Kentucky. Tennessee. They beat Tennessee at home.
Tennessee.
And then they've lost 2 in a row, so they are really scuffling. But you're right, Hitch. Georgia and Missouri are gotta have. But like you and I have said, Dids, Alabama is if you're even going to show that you have tournament potential, you probably need to beat Alabama.
Yeah, and kind of with A&M right now, that them losing to Vanderbilt hurt Ole Miss because we beat A&M at their place, right?
Yep.
So we needed that. And it's probably still a quad 1 win, I would imagine, but it doesn't look as good as it did when we beat them. And then A&M goes on a little bit of run, like you said, beats Tennessee, but then that big loss against Vanderbilt, that's when they couldn't afford to lose, and in turn it come back and hurt us as well. So South Carolina coming in Saturday, huge game. They've moved the baseball game back to 5:00 first pitch. That way that they don't intervene with each other, baseball and basketball. South Carolina is going to come in here. This is a game they're thinking they have to have as well. They're on a little bit of a skid. They're not playing super well. They've got a bunch of wins, but you would think that they're looking at this saying, hey, we've got to go get this game in Oxford, because as of right now, that would be another quad 1 win for them. So you're going to get a motivated Gamecock basketball team coming in Saturday.
For sure. And I mean, they're 9-4 in the SEC, right behind Tennessee, and tied with Auburn, right? So yeah, that's definitely.
And you would also think that this is not going to be a sleeping situation for South Carolina, because they've played us already, and we almost beat them in Columbia. So you would imagine they're going to be ready to go on Saturday, and Ole Miss is going to have to find its way to get out of this little skid it's on.
Yeah, look, what Ole Miss has to do is play 2 halves, right? You kind of look back to what we've done. We played basically a quarter of a game against Mississippi State, the last part of that first half. We played 1 half against South Carolina and still should have beat them on the road. We played a really good first half against Auburn. Right? I mean, that's another one where you can't capitalize off of a really good first half you play and then come out in the second half completely flat and get blown out. So we've had our opportunities. We've got to put 2 halves together in a single game. That's something we haven't done in, month. Yeah, probably about a month, maybe since the Arkansas game, I would say. Because
we didn't even mention how we snuck out with the win against Missouri, right?
Yeah,
we haven't even
mentioned
that, right? The one win we've had in the last 5 was a game that we should have lost in Oxford against Missouri,
who hasn't won an SEC game.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well,
so and before we even get to the NCAA tournament, what about the SEC tournament? How many teams get there?
Everybody gets there. There's just
everybody gets there in basketball. Okay.
Yeah, you get double buys for the.
I wish all of them just had the same rules, man. Okay, so everybody gets there.
It's just a difference in buys, double buys, stuff like that, as far as where you're seated at. Which look, Ole Miss is going to end up getting, probably at least hang around the halfway point of the SEC. So we're not going to be, that. I think it starts on a Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken, Monday or Tuesday.
Unless they've moved the championship game to a Saturday, then it would be a Tuesday. But if it's still on Sunday, it would be a Wednesday. Actually, the tournament starts on it's a Wednesday to Sunday tournament.
Yeah,
so the 13th.
Yeah, so we're going to miss that first slate of games where the bottom feeders get in there, and so you're going to end up missing. Quite frankly, it's going to end up helping you because you're not going to play somebody that's going to kill your net just by playing them, right? And will absolutely
Georgia, Arkansas, Vanderbilt, Missouri.
Yeah, there you go. So, which we've got to play Georgia anyway, so I guess it's not going to help us much. But yeah, plenty of work to do. Got to win 4 of the next 5. I think Alabama has to be one of them. If you win 4 of the next 5 and Alabama isn't one of them, then you go to Nashville looking for 1 or 2 wins to try to help yourself out. But then you got to hope that somebody doesn't steal a bid in another conference too, right?
Right. And you have to hope one of those wins in conference is against a good team, right? Because we're past the point of just collecting wins. We have to actually beat competent teams, or else we're not going to make the tournament.
Correct. Yeah, and that's where I was going with it. It is that I don't, because initially I thought, oh, well, if we make a run in the tournament, like we'll be okay. And then as I started looking at where we would be seated and things like that, I was like, ooh, boy, I don't know if we lose 2 of these next 5. Yeah, I don't even know if we win a couple of games in the tournament if we have a shot, right? So
the math gets really, really weird if you don't win.
We've got to take care of business here.
Yeah, so it's definitely a lot more dire than it was when we talked a couple of weeks ago. Touched on it last week. I think we all felt, okay about our chances about making the tournament, but now I think, at least in my opinion, we've dropped down a notch to where we absolutely have work to do, and I'm not going to be the one that sits here and predicts that we actually do it anymore. Is that kind of fair with y'all?
Yes.
I would say that I would say our destiny went from being in our hands to we don't control it anymore. Like we have to win. Yeah, we have to win, and other things possibly have to happen for us to get in.
Well, unless you beat Alabama.
Right.
Yeah. I think if we're realistic, then we are seeing the team that we were fearful that we were in the beginning of the season.
Absolutely.
Right. We were worried that maybe this team's not good. They're still gelling, or I'm sorry, they're not as good as a tournament team, right? Yes. Because of the close wins to some of the bottom feeders of the schedule. You get into SEC play, you beat a Florida team pretty badly. You beat Vanderbilt. Arkansas, A&M, and you're thinking, okay, maybe we're a little bit better, but now we're starting to, I think, fall back to reality that, Chris Beard walked into a tough situation, and he's done miracles just making this team look competent on the floor, but we're probably realistically a middle NIT seed this year.
Yeah, I actually made the comment today. I actually made the comment today that, it kind of sucks that we've fallen off the way we have. As far as how the season is starting to come to an end. Now, look, they can turn it around. They can make the tournament and all that. But no matter what, I've been really impressed with Beard and what he's been able to do in the first year. And they did everything.
It's been fun to watch.
Yeah, that's the thing. They got me to baseball season, which hasn't happened in 3 years, right? So, I mean, it's been a lot of fun to watch this team, watch Beard. Regardless of what happens the rest of the year, I'm not going to be soured on our program in the future as long as Beard is here, because you can see that it's in a lot better position, that he's going to be able to build from that as long as he sticks around. So,
I didn't realize he was a Bobby Knight guy.
I
said it last night. He was a long-time Bobby Knight assistant.
Texas Tech's where you got to start. So, but kind of transitioning from basketball to baseball. Baseball team obviously went out to Hawaii. We split 2 wins, 2 losses, won the first 2, lost the second 2. Had our home opener Wednesday against Arkansas State. That didn't go super well either. Ended up losing that one 4-2. Rebels are 2-3, starting out their home weekend series against High Point coming up this weekend. Hitch, I know you made it through the game with me on Friday night, right?
I did.
How about you, Trey? Did you stay up for it?
I watched the majority of it. I think I fell asleep, which is sad considering I'm 2 hours behind y'all.
Yeah, I was about to say, man, you're the one that was supposed to make it out of this crew.
Yeah, I know. But I know I did watch a majority of the Friday game.
Okay. Well, so is there anything that stuck out to y'all? I've got several things here that I thought the bullpen was really good. It's something that I've harped on for a while now that I think it's going to be a real weapon for Mike. You look back this 4-game set, obviously we had to use a ton of pitchers, but the ones that I think that will actually be brought in when it matters, I thought were really, really good. Mason Morris will start out on Friday. I thought he pitched really well for us coming out of the bullpen, him and Braden Jones both. They ended up eating up several innings for us. And then Mason Nichols comes out and goes 4 1/3, no hits and 5 strikeouts to get the win. And look, I think we have a really electric potential closer here in Connor Spencer. He comes in and closes that thing out on Friday and looked absolutely dominant. Just a perfect inning with 2 strikeouts, no hits, no walks. Ends up closing that thing out for us. And then we get to the first game on Saturday, the first game of that doubleheader, and we get a look at the future. Gunnar Dennis starts, obviously, he's a JUCO transfer. It's fine, 4 innings, 4 hits, 2 earned, 3 walks, 1 strikeout. You got to cut down on the walks there. But then you get Wes Mendez coming in, 3 innings, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts to record a save in his first ever appearance for the Rebels. So anything that stood out in those first 2 games, I'll go ahead and mention Quinn's line too on Friday night. Goes 3 1/3, 3 hits, 3 earned, 3 walks, but 6 strikeouts. Really dynamic stuff. Got to keep it in the strike zone. The walks end up elevating his pitch count through 75 pitches through 3 1/3, which I think was kind of the cap for Mike Bianco. It was kind of a trend throughout the weekend. He didn't want his starters to throw a bunch of pitches, obviously. But I thought Quinn was dynamic. Got to get the ball in the strike zone, though. That kind of seemed to be what hurt us all weekend was walks, especially from our starters.
And that was a trend that we were watching going into this season from last year, right? So that's a little discouraging. Now, I don't have anything necessarily regarding the 2 wins. The 2 things that were curious, or one thing that I saw that was good, I thought Austin Simmons, based on what I heard, he looked really well in the game, in the inning that he pitched.
Yeah, 1 inning, 2 strikeouts there. Yeah.
Yeah. But I was confused as to, and y'all can maybe they talked about this in maybe the radio or the telecast, but I was surprised that Will Furness didn't play more.
Yeah, I've got nothing, man. That's something me and Hitch have texted about, and I just now. Okay, so the first game I understood they threw a lefty. Sure. You know, if you're going to play matchups, fine. I'll get on board with that. If I'm not mistaken, the first game of that doubleheader, they did not throw a lefty, and he still wasn't in the lineup. Now, he got in for the second game of the doubleheader, if I've got that right. But then he doesn't start game 4, and he doesn't start against Arkansas State either, and he comes in and pinch hits in the 8th. He did struggle some in the fall in spring scrimmages, only hit 228, I think.
229, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. So he did struggle a little bit. So maybe he's giving other guys at bats. I can tell you one thing right now. If this offense doesn't get together, Will Furness is playing every damn game from here until the end of the year, though, because somebody's going to have to start hitting this ball. There's absolutely no reason in a bullpen game on a Wednesday against Arkansas State that you have 2 runs and you end up losing 4-2. One thing that I can't stand is people tell me that the pitching staff is the reason that we are 2-3. Hell no, we're not hitting the ball right now. And when we are hitting, and we're like 6 for 72 with runners on base. Okay, you got to string something together. You got to score some runs against Hawaii and against Arkansas State. Don't come to me with this shit that this is on the pitching staff. Pitching staff did their job. The offense has got to get up off their ass and tote their load too.
Yeah. I was also, it seems like we had a lot of bases stolen against us as well. We've talked in one of our previous shows. I think opponents are 8-8. They've stolen 8 bases already against us. You wonder about, Smithwick as well, right? True freshman catcher. That's something to at least pay attention to, considering the walk issue that our pitchers have seemingly had the first 5 games of the season.
Yeah. Yeah, and pitchers can help you out a lot with that too, right? You kind of saw it with the televised game on Friday, how often JT Quinn was checking on the runner at first, right? Throwing back to first. God, I think at one point he did it 6 or 7 times in a row, and they still ended up stealing the base. But pitchers got to get a little quicker to the plate to help your catcher out. But again, true freshman catcher, we're alternating him and Birch there to try to figure out what the right fit is. So, that's definitely a battle to watch throughout the year. Right now, neither one of them's hitting. So somebody's got somebody's got to make separate themselves defensively behind the plate now.
Yeah, well, that was my big thing from the first 4 or 5 games, whatever, was that Furtis was only in the lineup once.
Yeah.
And I know that they said last night that he struggled in the in the fall.
Fall, spring, both, yeah.
220, whatever. Yeah,
I don't care.
I
do know is that we hit 298 in the SEC last year. That's what I do know.
Yeah. But I mean, that was the big thing that stood out was, and I don't understand him not being in the lineup on Friday night, even if they're throwing a left-hander, because you have three other left-handers in there.
Yeah, it's totally different.
Anyway, outside of that, I thought Quinn looked fine. I was most impressed or happiest to see Mason Nichols go out and throw 4 1/3 and just look like Mason Nichols, right? Great.
And real quick on Mason Nichols, like this is more his role, right? This could be a defined role for him, taking over for like Jack Doherty, come in, be a multi-inning guy, not asking him to close out games, stuff like that, but to be a longer bridge when you need it.
Yeah, and since it was only televised one night, it's tough to have any guesses on what guys may do in the future. But the Friday night game, if I was impressed by any pitcher, it was the kid from Hawaii, the starter. He came out, walked 3 guys in the first inning, and came in and looked pretty good until they took him out. I think they had the same thing with Quinn, probably 75 pitches or so. I listened to some of the games on Saturday and Sunday, and then watched the game last night. And the big thing that I can think of is 2 out hitting, or hitting with runners on. I think that we left a lot of guys on base, and that's not going to fly in the SEC. But I will say, the Arkansas State game, man, we hit a bunch of balls on the nose.
Yeah,
I was watching it, and we hit a bunch of balls on the nose. Leger hit 3 balls right on the nose that one of them would have been a double down in the left field corner. One of them probably would have driven in a run. So
well, that
I'm in the camp that it is too early. Sure. We're still getting our bearings. And I know that you guys are too. I guess I'm saying it for the 17 other people that are listening.
Yes.
It's early. We're getting our bearings. These guys that transferred in, right? They probably are putting all of the pressure on their shoulders because none of them had a good weekend. Fisher, Ross, Hughes, none of them really had and Smithwick too, being a freshman, right? Yeah. So I think let's give them a few more outings and kind of see where we are going forward. But that's not to say if this continues, we might be in trouble come the 3rd weekend of the season.
Right. Well, the other thing that we haven't even discussed, right? Did you kind of ranted about how people are complaining about the pitching? Our defense has been really poor.
Horrendous.
So far. Horrendous. 8 errors already.
Yeah. I didn't even realize that we made that many errors Sunday until they were talking about it.
Yeah. 6 errors on Sunday, had 8 errors altogether in that Hawaii series. Didn't help our pitchers out at all doing that. So there's
also some double play balls that weren't turned. Yeah. That's not an error. That's a fielder's choice.
Look, and you had that
double plays.
Yeah, and you had the one against Arkansas State hit right at Luke Hill to get you out of an inning, and they initially called him safe at first. It pulled Udemark off the bag. It was too high. You could see it was too high as soon as it left his hand. Luckily, they reviewed it. Udemark did come down on the bag. They called him out. But that's just another part of the defensive part. You've got to have that confidence that you can't just let that thing fly, and it's going to go to where it needs to go. And if you're overthrowing a 6'5" first baseman, that's mental at that point, right? I mean, because Luke is a good shortstop, and that's not stuff that he did. I mean, he's known for his defense. So there's something going on mentally with him. Fisher made 1 error all year last year and made 2 Sunday against Hawaii. So, I mean, that's something you've got to get cleaned up. You can't make your pitchers get more than 27 outs when it's not necessary.
And the play for Luke Hill, right? I mean, that's not a routine play. I mean, that's a tough play. He's going to his backhand, fielding the ball and come back across. But he did the hard part,
Yeah,
right?
That's
it.
it.
He caught the ball. Now you just plant and throw. And, luckily you're marked 6'5", and he went up and got it. But it's things that don't necessarily show up in the stat book that I think probably Bianco is drilling on it, because these guys know, right? Yeah. I made an error, right? I made a physical error. Let's don't make a mental error and continue to make those, right?
And that's I think that goes to your point about getting those timely hits too, with runners on base, runners in scoring position. At this point, it's a mental thing because, last night, like you said, Leger smokes that ball down the line right at the third baseman, a double play. But then I think it was the seventh inning, we had runners on first and second, 2 out, and Groff comes up and absolutely tattoos a ball to center field, line drive, and the center fielder never had to move, gets them out of the inning there. If that's in the gap, that scores 2. And then it's a tie ball game there. And then after we get the Udemar run in the 8th, we get a walk after that, and Andrew Fisher's up with the runner on base, and he absolutely smokes a ball that looks like it's going to go up the middle, but it's the second baseman's position perfectly right there with the lefty batting, and he was just in the right place, right time. That thing had to be hit 105 miles an hour, but it was right to the glove, and that ends up getting them out of the inning too. So there's a little bit of bad luck involved in that as well, that you have to still mentally get over, just like you do defensively.
Yeah, I think it's disappointing, right, when you have big transfers come in and they're not Tommy Tanks and they don't hit 15 home runs in the first weekend. Yeah. But you got to understand that not everybody is him, right? These guys are going to come around, and I Bleav we're going to be okay, heading into SEC play. But it's and honestly, what have we said here that nobody else knows, right? Throw strikes, make plays, get timely hits, right? It's a formula that is old as baseball. Just hope these guys kind of gel together and start doing that, and we get some W's.
Right, and baseball is a long grind, right? Mm-hmm. Not everybody's going to start off
games, 50-something
games.
Yeah, 56, 57.
We've only played 5. We're talking, 15 at-bats per player for the most part. It's a long season. Obviously, you wanted after last season to come out playing well. Granted, we went 17-0 to start last season, did we not? And
started off pretty good.
Yeah, it started off pretty well. So just because you start off well, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have a successful season. We just need to give it a little bit more time. Now, if we get swept by High Point, that's a big deal.
That would be concerning.
Yeah, so let's just give it a little bit of time, because I know the message boards are a complete disaster right now. And basketball,
I'm so happy that I'm not in that.
I know.
I'm so glad that I'm not into that culture. Right?
Yeah.
Like I don't look at them. I don't read them. Because if I ever got a taste of it, it would be over for me.
I read it more for like news type stuff. I don't comment.
Sure. Oh yeah. No. Yeah. I'm talking more about the people that you're talking about, right? Like,
yeah. All right, guys. Well, before we get out of here, I'm going to go off on a limb here and say that I'm the only one that looks stuff up on High Point to see what we've got coming in this weekend. So just to give y'all a little buffer.
That's my bag. My bag. I didn't do that.
That's 100%.
I know they're the Panthers. They're in North Carolina.
Yeah, look at you. Good job. See, I didn't even know that. So you're coming in helping me out here. Well, they're 1-4 coming into this weekend series, or they were as of Wednesday. I don't know if they played a Wednesday game or not. I didn't look, but they do have what D1 baseball projected to be the pitcher of the year in the Big South Conference. He's there. I'm assuming he will start Saturday. He started Saturday for them last week, got the win. Mm-hmm. His name is Gus Hughes. A professional curveball. I mean, one that can get guys out at the highest level, swing and miss pitch. That's what he's going to go to get you out. Got a good fastball too. It's a team though that, as I read on them, is not entirely unlike Hawaii. Now, they're not as good as Hawaii was last year, but they returned their entire weekend rotation, and it's nothing but seniors up and down the lineup. So it's people that have played Division I baseball either at High Point, or they had a couple of Power 5 transfers from this past year come in as well. So it's guys that played a ton of baseball, and you know, you're at the very least going to have to play a disciplined, clean game to beat them. If not, then they'll fundamental you to death, and you'll look up and you'll be in a rock fight and trying to squeeze one out. One thing that I did find interesting about High Point, they have a senior right-hander pitcher named Braden Holiday, and that's Roy Holiday's son.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I don't know if he has the same palm ball, change up, whatever the hell you wanted to call that. But since he's a senior at High Point, I'd say that it's probably not quite as good as his dad's, or he wouldn't have been there for 4 years.
No, I would imagine that he'd be pitching for a much more meaningful university than High Point. No offense to any High Point alumni that are listening to us right now.
Or somewhere in the minors or something like that. He'd have started his professional baseball career. But I did think that was an interesting note, though. I always enjoyed watching Roy Halladay pitch when he was with the Blue Jays. Once he went to the Phillies, I couldn't give a shit about him because he just kicked our ass, 10 times a year with me being a Braves fan. So that sucked. Rest in peace, man. Love you. So, all right. Outfielder, you got Brett Halt. He's a leadoff hitter. He had a 943 OPS. Power speed guy, 11 home runs, 13 RBIs last year. And then they've got a good third baseman that can really swing it. Cale Chatham hit 315 with a 964 OPS. So, look, it's a team that Ole Miss should handle as long as they, as we said, play clean up the errors. Don't walk, folks. I had the numbers from last weekend that were just – we had our starters through 12 and 12.2 innings last week for us, and they struck out 16, which is good, but they walked 11 in just over 12 innings. You can't do that.
No, you can't.
Between them and the bullpen together, they also hit 8 batters on top of it. Now the bullpen ended up pitching pretty well, 24 strikeouts, but 16 was to go along with it too. So it's really simple. Fill up the strike zone. That's what they preached all season. If they do that, I think the pitch staff's got a chance to be really good, and I think the lineup's going to come around and we're going to start hitting.
Well, yeah, they have to, or else it's going to be a long spring, right?
Absolutely.
So this is a chance, this weekend to get a little confidence and instill some confidence into the fan base, because a lot of people, not anybody on this podcast, but there's a lot of PTSD that is probably happening in the Ole Miss universe right now.
That's right.
Hey, High Point has got some purple in their uniform. I wonder if they're going. I'd like to see them come with some fire in their uniforms this weekend.
They may do it. I have no idea. I guess we'll find out Friday.
I know.
You gonna ride over and watch any Hitch?
I'm gonna try to. Yeah, you coming?
No, not this weekend. I'm booked this weekend, but you know what next weekend is.
Oh, I know. Yeah, living in my garage.
That's right. I ain't bringing an air mattress or nothing. I'm gonna bring some kind of little, I don't know, maybe steal one of Jenny's blankets or something and just lay down on the concrete and sleep there and go to baseball games.
Here we
go. I think that's what I'm going to do. So, all right, gentlemen, well, that's all I got today. We will obviously get together next week and hopefully be talking about a sweep of High Point. Before we get out here, do you think we have to get all 3 here, or are you okay getting 2 out of 3? Right?
It's still 2. Yeah, it's you win the series. Yeah, you don't want to drop one. Yeah. You have to. We have to win. We have to win a series before we can sweep a series.
That's right.
So let's get there first.
You doing the legwork of finding out all that stuff about High Point, saying that they're full of seniors up and down the lineup. They returned their weekend starters, right? Like, I don't care who it's difficult to beat a team 3 times in a row, 3 days in a row. Like it's very hard to do. Mm-hmm. So I mean, 3, I would love to win Saturday, Sunday, or Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but 2 out of 3, that's good enough.
I'd take it in a heartbeat and move on because I think we have 2 midweek games next week before we get the Hawkeyes into town. So go out, get a series, get a little bit of confidence, hopefully put some runs up, give these guys a lot of confidence because that following weekends is not going to do much for the confidence for those batters because Iowa's got some dudes coming in, but we will absolutely talk about them next week when we get together and talk about a series win. Hopefully, Ole Miss basketball keeps the season going this weekend by beating South Carolina. We'll touch on that as well. And hopefully we will be talking about NCAA tournament odds by the time we hook up again next week, guys. But I appreciate y'all joining me just like every single week. Appreciate y'all taking out the time.
Sounds great.
Sounds good, guys. Talk to y'all later.
All right. Hi, Toddy.
Howdy, toddy.
Howdy, toddy.